In this episode of our photography review show, we're going to be looking at aviation, documentary, pets, portrait, travel, and wildlife photographers. Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of our photography review show. For those who don't know me, my name is Jakub. I'm a professional photographer based in West Sussex here in England. And for the last 2 or 3 years, I've been reviewing pictures for my colleagues and friends. And this is the reason why we decided here at Clever Photographer that it's something what we're gonna do for our photography community. So it's been super successful and very popular. And in today's episode, we received photos from 28 photographers. We received over 86 photos. And this is the reason why we have to divide the show between 3 different parts. In today's episode, we're going to be dividing between landscape, mixed team photographers, and then we're going to go through the rest of the different styles we received. We actually received 9 different styles, so it's a lot to go through, and we're going to jump straight into it. But before we're gonna do that, few of the reminders. First of all, we have opened our Clever Photographer Academy. At the moment, it's completely free. You can just join us at Facebook, get in. We do lots of fun stuff there. We review pictures throughout the week. We run photography competitions. We answer questions and help photographers in many different ways. So if you want to join us, at the moment it's for free, so definitely come, click on the join, check it out on Facebook, and find out more about us and join the community of the people who are like us, who wants to really keep moving forward with their photography. And the last thing before we start is the reminder that next week on the 1st of November, we're going to do actually photography review show special. And it's the week where we basically going to run something which is called National Geographic cover, and it's for all those people who think that their pictures are worth it to be on the cover of the National Geographic. It's a lot of fun. We basically gonna take your picture, place it on the cover, and we're gonna tell you if we think that it's worth it or not. We can't wait for this episode. It's gonna be something else, and we hope that you're gonna enjoy it just as much as us. But now, without any further ado, let's jump straight into the reviewing. And here we are in a Lightroom, ready for the third and final part of our photography review show this week. We have many photographers to go through with some of the new photography styles we haven't had before. And the very first one is actually aviation photography, submitted by Bill to us. And Bill, just as a kind of suggestion and help, and again repeating the fact that I don't get paid by any of the following photographers, any of the training I'm mentioning. I have no percentage, no commission on it at all. It's just stuff that really helped me in the past, and I think it's handy, and I hope that it will help you and other photographers. So just as a heads up for aviation photography, I don't know, maybe you're already part of something which is called Kelby One, which is one of the biggest photography training and tutorial website created by Scott Kelby. And actually, Scott Kelby has a full list of aviation trainings there, and everything from photograph as an air show like a pro to photographing the pilots and post-processing. And if you're looking for a little bit more inspiration and motivation and get to people who photograph planes like you, this is a great place to go through. It's called kelby1.com, and you can either buy the courses individually, which usually are something between $9 to $25, $30, or you can pay for the subscription, which starts at $9.99 as far as I know per month, and then you can watch all the courses. You can even just get like a pay for 1 month, watch these courses, and then finish the membership, whatever you like to do. But some of the courses are great. The aviation were mostly created by Moose Peterson, which I met him actually personally. And I also have his book for aviation photography. And I think first, he's a professional. He makes lots of money by aviation, and he really takes incredible photos. And if you're looking for some inspiration, this would be a place to check out and maybe learn from. So enough of that, because it's time to move to your own pictures. So let's do this. So we are here in Lightroom looking at 2 of your photos. This one with the heart around it is stunning. Well done on that. And Bill, and this one, obviously a planes. And there is some kind of explosion behind them and smoke and everything is happening. So let's jump into the review. Let's do this. So starting with this one, technical point. First of all, we're going to go through technical skills. Then we look at the composition and artistic skills. And we ended up on looking at the post-processing. So technically, to be honest, I think first, I think it's a little bit of shame that they are kind of smaller files, or maybe the transition from RAW to JPEG wasn't really done properly, because like on this one, the planes don't seem to be sharp. I think the heart behind them is actually sharper than the planes, which is a little bit of a shame. Also, another thing, when I look at it, I see the heart, but the heart doesn't really go behind the plane itself. So I guess maybe you done like a sky replacement there, or I'm not sure what, but it's the sharpness where I'm a little bit I think it's a shame. I think it's a shame photo that they are not sharp, although I understand it must be very difficult to capture, but that's one thing I would look at. Obviously, other than that, the sky, the movement, I think the light is done, the exposure is well, although on these planes, let's have a look. Let's have a look at your exposure and a white balance. Yeah, you see, when I touch a white balance without touching it and I hold Alt option, everything what's white is basically burned down. That's where there is no details recorded in the picture. And there is lots of that. So I'm guessing there was really harsh sun hitting the planes. So for next time, just as a suggestion, bring down the exposure a little bit, or play around with the shutter speed to make sure that you maybe shoot them a little bit on underexposed, and then you can add the exposure later during the post-processing. On this one, so the planes are really interesting, although this one with the smoke and then those, they work really well. But what I'm confused by are these artifacts here. Like, I mean, what's this one and this one? I'm not sure. Also down here, it seems to be all very kind of messy. So I'm wondering if this is post-processing or if it was the scene which was this messy. You see there is just kind of bit which I'm not sure where it belongs to. Again, similarly, where was I looking earlier? When I look through the window, there is maybe some bit of the details. And again, because it's low quality, can you see how little details I can see, how it gets pixelated really fast? I think it's a huge shame, Bill, because again, it's a great effort. Again, I'm a big fan of aviation photography, but obviously these little pieces are just a little bit confusing. Again, here, I'm not sure what's this one exactly, and these pieces, there's also just pieces here which I'm not sure. So something to think about. And for example, something like this is really easy to fix. Even in a Lightroom, you can just use the healing brush, make it a little bit bigger, and just one click, and again one click, you see, and when I jump out of it, that's it, it's fixed. So really simple, just a few strokes, and it will help because it will keep the focus of the human eye directly on the subject, which are the plane. They will not get distracted by these little things around which are confusing for the human eye. Composition wise, I love this one. I think the idea with the star and the planes flying away there is great. It's very, very nice. It's well balanced. The planes are flying, the fog behind them. I think artistically, this one is very well done. This one, I think lots happening there. I think quite often the scene gets really busy, and I think this is what's happening here. I think as a human eye, you wouldn't be really sure what to look at. I think with aviation, sometimes less is more. So for example, just the plane with the explosion would be enough. I know you can't plan these things, but I'm just saying that that would be something which could really work. I mean, it's just a test. It doesn't have to be like that, but let me see if I would just really crop on the plane itself. You know, and just get something like this, maybe with more of the explosion, and see where you could take it from there. But anyway, it's still very nice. It's just much more busier. This one is much more straightforward, direct, clear message, where this one gets really busy. The explosion is there and the planes are there, and it's interesting. Anyway, if you have a time, make sure you write us in a comment to tell us a little bit more about it, because I would love to find out how did you capture this photo, and so on. It would be really, really interesting. Talking about post-processing, I think this one is perfectly fine. Nothing to add here. And only thing, I would bring down the white a little bit and see if maybe the highlights would help. That's all. On this one, I don't know. I don't think I would add much more here neither. I think it's quite well done. What I would be more looking at as a part of post-processing would be removing these little details like I showed you earlier. This kind of confusing part like this one, this one, this one, to make it all a bit more simple and helps the overall feel of the photo. Either way, Bill, thank you so much. Don't forget the training I was talking about from KLB1. It's something what could maybe help you to move forward. They not only do shooting, they do post-processing as well, and it could be helpful. Either way, Bill, thank you so much. Send us more of your photos, and if you have a moment, come and join us at the Clever Photographer Academy. It's completely free. It's a Facebook group where you just have to come, click on join, fill a few details, basically just letting us know what you would like to learn, and then join photographers. It's a smaller group where we all like to talk about photography. We do lots of fun stuff. Right now running competition where you can find a Luminar Neo. What else we do? We do reviews during the week. We answer photographic questions. We do trainings, but the way we do trainings, we basically ask our people and members what they would like to learn, and then we create these trainings rather than us trying to guess what you would like to improve. Anyway, Bill, take care, and I hope to see more of your pictures in the future. Moving on next, so documentary photo from Sabrina Engels. Sabrina, this was almost like your nightclub kind of lifestyle shot, but then I saw this picture and I thought documentary is quite good fit probably for this one. So let's jump into them right away without any further ado. So, I really like both of them, to be honest. I'm personally not the best person to judge documentary photography and this kind of lifestyle photos, but as a person who obviously enjoy looking at them, I think this one is great. I think this one tells a great picture and great story. Although there is lots happening, it's quite clean and it's quite sorted. This is something what's very difficult to do when there is a lot happening on the scene, to create something which is sorted and pleasant for human eye, and you manage that very well. And this one works quite well as well. Again, we're talking low light situation. There is a minimal noise there. I think it's a lovely composition. There is a storytelling happening there, and it's well done. So Sabrina, let's jump into the review. Technically, again, on this one, low light situation and minimum noise, so I'm very impressed. Even though you have 1600 ISO, let's just kind of zoom in, and I think for what I see is really minimum for what for the ISO you've been using. So well done on that. The exposure is right. I think the sharpness is right there, with obviously these two being sharp and then the other one's a little bit more blurry. You're using what, Tamron 24 to 70 f2.8. Obviously, if you would have a lens which would be even faster, better for you, but it's not the big deal. It's a lovely photo. Technically on this one, again, everything is sharp. The exposure is right. Shame it doesn't have a details, this one. Again, shame it's a kind of smaller picture, because when we zoom in and start to look for the details, you see we can almost not recognize the faces. So it's a little bit of a shame there. But overall, Sabrina, lovely photos. Let's move on to the artistic part, the composition. I don't know what is it on this picture that really works, but I think it starts by the fact that everything is straight, and then the truck and the people are kind of positioned in a way there is a space in front of them, so it makes the gradial impact really work there, and I think it's just really nice. Although there is not clear message about what's happening, it may be in front of the club or it's some kind of protest or something. It just works. On this one, again, it's a great storytelling. You know, obviously the DJ guy dancing, maybe coming to, you know, kind of thing here. It just works. Nice picture, lovely colors. Nothing much artistically I would like to add there. The only thing maybe that you could get actually more of the DJ, and that what would help you would to have a wider lens, obviously, but then wider lens with kind of low f-stop, like a fast wider lens, is really expensive, so it's a combination. Post-processing, nothing to add. This one has a great white balance, great editing. It's really naturally done. Love it. And this one, when it comes to documentary, I wouldn't add anything there. It's all sharp. Exposure is right. All your highlights, shadows, black points, nothing add. Sabrina, well done. if you have a moment, come and join us in our new group, Clever Photographer Academy, because we're missing somebody with your style of photography. Even if you just join us and kind of watch around, it would be great. But if you're more interested, we do photography competitions, we do photography review during the week, we do training courses, answering photography questions. It's a lot of fun, and we would love to have you there. So thank you very much, and I hope to see more of your pictures in the future. Moving on to the next person. So we done aviation documentary. So let's move to pets photography. And if we're talking about pets, it cannot be anyone else than Sabine. Sabine joined us again with 2 pictures. And I'm starting to feel, Sabine, that you should send us landscape photos for these reviews, because I have not much I can add to your pets photography. I think they are great. You obviously know what you're doing. And again, I'm going to come back to the point that I think when it comes to pet photography, you should definitely create a website, or you should think about making a book, maybe even if it's just for yourself. I think with the pictures you have, it would be stunning. And when you do such a good photography with the pets or with the dogs or with anything, I think it's really important to take it and do something with it. Either it's a question of printing your photos, it's a question of making a little book, which if you make it just for yourself, yes, it will be a little bit expensive if you want to have it done nicely, but it will last forever and it will be great. Or again, make a website and showcase your pictures to other people, or join something like PX500, make your profile there and share your pictures, because those are pictures I would then show other people as an example of good pet photography. Those 2 are more on a kind of pastel colors, so almost kind of autumn feel. Like them both. Something about this one and about the horizon, the way it's cut, I'm not 100% sure about, but then I love the way the dog is looking straight forward. Also, the composition isn't 100% balanced on this one. So I think that's a little bit of a shame. I think if you would have a crop this whole thing, let's have a look. Something like this. It would end up being a little bit better. I think it's a little bit of shame that is here. I think if you would have been more, I don't know how the bridge looks, if you can get in a center and get more balance leading lines towards the dog, I think that would help on this. Technically, again, they are all sharp. The light is right. I always enjoy how the whole dog is sharp, not just parts like a nose or face. I think it works really well. And you have a lovely blur at the back. So that works very nice as a depth of the field. The exposure is well done and everything is good there. Looking at the dog, I guess he was running outside a lot because there is some dirt on him, but that's fine. It just makes it more realistic. On this one, when it comes to actual technical part, I would go a little bit higher to get more of the dog. You see how he's getting like a cut and hidden behind. It's making the picture a little bit more flat. Like it's missing the dimension, This part's not doing the work enough. Where in this one, you can really see the back feet and the whole body. So it makes it a little bit more dimensional. With this one, because he's lying down and then there is this horizon, the picture becomes almost flat. So that's just a suggestion. Post-processing, nothing I can add. Lovely exposure, lovely white balance, more on a pastel colors. So this is more like your autumn feel, but beautiful, beautiful photo. This one I would definitely go ahead and crop to something like this. And it would work brilliantly on like a Facebook or Instagram or something like this, because it's a lovely, lovely capture. Sabine, well done. Thank you very much. And as I say, it's time you start to send the landscape photos so we can teach you more and we can have more comments too. Thank you. And thank you again for joining us at the group. We really love to have you there. Moving on to the next photographer. We have 2 portraits photographer. And I will not attempt to say your name. I'm really sorry. But we have 2 pictures of this lovely lady. So let's jump to it. First impression. So I assume, let's have a look. Is it the same woman? Maybe it's the same model. First impression. Like this one, although I think it could be cropped a little bit to the side to get more kind of space. I'm thinking something like this would work better for me. I think in overall also there could be even tighter crop if you would want, and then really kind of maybe place the golden point more on her. This would work very well as well. So something like this would work very well as well, but I love the photo. And then this one, is nice as well. There is some golden coming from a side. It's very kind of mute. So when it comes to colors, and also shame that you kind of clipped off the top of the woman. I think that's a shame because it takes a little bit away from hair in overall. Let's talk about your technical skills. So let's have a look at the sharpness. Let's get a little bit further. Obviously, focusing on the eyes, they look all sharp, so it's looking good. Let's look and see if we have. So using Leica 50 millimeters, the good old 50, 3.2 f-stop, 130 ISO 500. So that's all good. I like how everything is sharp all the way through, and then starts the blur. I think it's very nicely done. I think there's a little bit of a blur on the hair, which is interesting, but that's happening there. The light is quite nice. I think it's hitting kind of from different sides from the top, and then something is going on her face. So it's interesting. It's a little bit more on a harsher side, but it's okay. It works. I think it could be also a little bit more straight, which can be really easily done here in a geometry, I think. Yeah, just something like this would help. So that's all. Technically, otherwise, very well done. On this one, again, as I say, technically, I think it's a little bit shame that we're missing here the top part of the woman. The sun is really nice from here, and it's a shame that she cannot turn the head this way because there is a light, which is probably sun, coming from this direction, the source of light, and then her face is away to degree where it doesn't add anything to her face except this piece here. I think either I would have let her turn completely so you avoid even this part here, or I would have worked with the light, maybe use a diffuser if you would want to really push it that way and get more interesting light into her face, one way or the other. So that would be it. Moving on to the post-processing. This one more on a kind of post-processing. I didn't talk about the composition. Composition, artistically first. I think they are both very well done. I think the model is doing very well here. Again, shame for the top. I would probably crop it again a little bit differently, maybe a little bit tighter. And I think why it's letting me to crop it is because your head on both of the picture is quite high. So on this one, again, like this. But let's jump into the post-processing. So very natural edit, which I really enjoy. I think the skin looks very smooth, but it keeps the natural feel of it. So well done to that. I think this one, white balance and light and exposure, everything is good here. I would maybe add a little bit of a vignette just to be me. And then maybe see if with like a brush, you could maybe add a little bit more brightness to her face. And again, to the parts where there is the brightness. So something like this. Just to make it a little bit more interesting. Also, let's have a look at the white balance, because if we check out what Lightroom would tell us, and it would bring it really cool, so I would leave it this way. Where on this one, I see there is like a really kind of green tone, and maybe it was purposely done, so then I'm sorry for that. But personally, I would push the purple a little bit, and I would leave the warm, or push the warmth. I wonder what is it with the picture that it's getting really kind of washed out, that the effect is really washed out. I think it's a little bit of a shame, because I think with the golden color coming from the sunset, I think, or sunrise, it could do so much more for you. But in overall, again, the crop was something what I already mentioned, and maybe work around with stuff like, you know, more brightness in her face and more brightness on her dress and the hand. And then similarly, you could do the same with a little bit of underexposure. Just something like this. Just an idea. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us. Send us more pictures. Try different things. I think my main thing with your photos would be the crop. This is something what I would keep an eye on, and making sure that you're not clipping people, and just be a little bit more adventurous with it. Don't worry about it. Send different pictures. We can't wait to see them. Moving on, the next photographer, the second portrait photographer, different style, and not much I can really add here, to be honest. So obviously there is a large amount of sky with some kind of rock and person standing being completely turned away. It's very interesting. I am guessing that it's going to have a special meaning for you, but there can be so much more done with a model like this. Maybe kind of resting over the rock, maybe having more of the detail at the bottom. There seems to be a really nice light, so something to look at. Okay, technically, it's all sharp, although I can see a little bit of noise leaking through. Let's see if we have any details using Sony ISO 160. So maybe that's why. I wonder if it's a mobile phone you're using. Maybe no, maybe it's a 7R maybe. Mark III or Sony A7 Mark III probably, which is a lovely camera. I think you can do so much more on it. I feel looking at this glow around the face of the person, you maybe did some sky replacement as well. I could be wrong, but looking at the horizon as well, I don't think I am. I think you're missing on these parts here. So it's a nice attempt, but I think you would have to do more with the model. I would definitely suggest you to go to the website like PX500, check out some model posture. And when I started portrait photography, I would download, let's say, 5 to 10 pictures with different poses into my phone. And because I didn't have the money for the model, I would have just a friend or girl with me, and I would basically show her what I want her to do, then kind of position it and take a picture. And like this, over time, I learned how to position the models, and then obviously later on, having more money, you have a model with you, and she or he will know how to, pose. But when you don't have somebody, it's much easier to show them. So mobile phone is a great way to do it. Basically download these poses you want to try, get adventurous with it and try it. And I think that's it, I'm not going to add much more to it. There is not much of an interesting light here. Again, there is nothing really wrong with the photo other than that you need to be more creative and try different things. Obviously, everything is sharp, so there is no problem there. The exposure is right. It's a little bit underexposed, a little bit dark, but more can be done, Thomas. So check it out. Keep an eye. If you're looking for some inspiration on portrait photography, check out, for example, Kelby One website. You can buy individual courses or pay for their subscription. I'm not sponsored by them. It's just a suggestion, something I used to use and helped me a lot. Thomas, thank you so much. Send us more pictures. I think that would be really helpful if you would send us more than one shot, so then I can judge. Maybe this would be part of like a series and it could work, but in overall, I think I need to see more from you to be able to say what I think. Still life from Steinar Mikkelsen. Steinar, mushrooms with the autumn. Oh, if you have a time, come and join us at Clever Photographer Academy. It's a Facebook group and we just running autumn photography competition. And I think your picture would do very well there. The first prize, it's the full version of the upcoming Luminar Neo and something which maybe would interest you. Just come and join us. It's still open. It's for free. And we do lots of photography reviews there. We answer photography questions. We do photography courses and we do photography reviews throughout the week. So it's lots of fun, Steinar. And if you have a moment, come and join us. But talking about your pictures. So I like them both. It's almost like a macro photography, right? It's still, I call it still life, but I think it's more like a macro photography hash still life. I love this one. I actually seen a tutorial on how to do this kind of mushroom lighting, and I tried myself and it's not very easy, to be honest. So for what you've done, looks very, very cool. On this one, it's a different kind, but there is a lovely light coming from the top, so it's well done. So let's handle it like a macro photography. Let's do that. So talking about technical skills. I really like the depth of the field. I like that it's all blurry and you're getting some kind of bouquet there. Let's have a look if, oh, shame we don't have information of your camera, but that's fine. I like it, although I think it's almost at the point when it's too blurry, or maybe that it's the amount of space around it. When you blur everything, it works very well when it's a small amount, but when you blur it to this degree, it's just a lot of empty space, which is almost distracting. So either I would not blur it that much, or I would do different crop. So let's see if maybe square crop would work a little bit better. So let's say the mushroom is in the center. So something like that. I think something like that could really work, or you could even go further if you would want to keep the same ratio and maybe crop it just like this. That would be my suggestion. Technically, I think that's a one thing. Since we're here with all the details, I love the amount of detail you have. I really enjoy the fact that the whole main subject, which is a mushroom in this way, is sharp. I think over the years, macro photography turned a lot into this capturing a subject and having just a very small piece of it in focus, and blur, 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 blur everywhere. And I think people do it over and over. And actually the art of macro photography is also be able to pick the subject and have it all sharpness and then make the depth of field stronger. And I think you've done that brilliantly. Equally on this one, again, I think the whole mushroom is sharp. Then obviously the cone and parts of it starting to be a little bit blurry, but again, a lovely capture. Similarly here with the background, love the depth of the field. If you do it that way, I would put less of the whole background because it doesn't add any value. In fact, if you crop it like this, it actually makes the composition much more balanced because we get the equal amount of empty space on each of the sides. Composition wise, I already done the crop with what I think I would do, but I think it's a lovely, lovely idea. I think this mushroom growing from the actually cone works super well here. Well done on that. And I don't have much more to add to it. I think this is very kind of magical and this works very well. I think the mushrooms, autumn is here. I think it's very, very cute. Thank you for posting that. Post-processing wise, again, not much to add. I think these little fairies or whatever really works there. And all colors are natural. It has a natural feel, natural contrast. It's more on a darker side, which really works for this kind of photography. You don't want it to be crazy bright. And there is a lovely light coming. So post-processing, other than the cropping I showed you, are well done. Steinar, you must be one of my definitely adepts for the photographer of the week this week, because those are lovely photos. And if you have more of them, please make sure you send them over to us. We would love to see them in the upcoming weeks. If you have a picture like this, which is portrait size, send it for the next week edition, where we're going to be looking at and answering the question, can your photo be on the National Geographic cover? Because I think maybe some of your pictures could be. So thank you again. I hope to see more of your pictures in the future. Moving on next, we moving swiftly into the travel photography. So we are in travel photography, starting by Alan. Alan sent us 2 photos. So this is some kind of temple, which I love the capture. I would straighten it a little bit more. And it's a huge shame for this light here, because human eyes are naturally attracted by the brightest and whitest spot on the picture. So when I look at this, immediately, and everybody will, the eyes goes to this lamp. So I think it's such a shame it's there. I wonder if there was a chance to maybe go around just for the future as a suggestion. But lovely picture, kind of blew our capture just on edge when there is still details, and the colors are really nice. Also lovely sky texture there. So well done on that one. This one, a lovely idea, lovely leading line. Although it's more the post-processing here, I'm not 100% sure. And also make it just a little bit more balanced. These compositions are super powerful, very popular across, social media and for printing and so on. But they only work when the final part, the tunnel, is in the center of the photo, because both of the sides of the picture have to be really balanced. So we're going to have a look at that in post-processing. So let's jump into it. Technical point of view, this works really well. Lovely light, lovely level of details, exposure, everything is good here. Nothing much to add. On this one, blue hour, everything is sharp. Let's have a look about the noise. Let's have a look if we have details from you. ISO 400, f1.8, 1.8. Also, you were trying to, so no tripod, I'm assuming, but that's fine. Still, everything is sharp, and to be honest, there is not that much noise. What are you using? Huawei. Is it mobile phone? There is a little artifact here, which may be a bird. I'm not sure about that. Okay. This one was 250 ISO, f1.8. And that's why you get this really nice blur at the end. Well done on that. Moving on the composition. So I already talked about this one. I think this light is a huge shame. Try to avoid that for the future. It's just a suggestion. And I think the building could be a little bit straighter. Also, in the future, keep an eye on these kind of items. This is what we call disturbing foreground elements. And it can be trees, people, cars, buildings, lampposts, anything which are only partial coming into the actual scene. For human who hasn't been in that location, sometimes it gets a little bit distracting. In your case, no, because there is a big part of the tree, but I hope you know what I mean. If there would be, let's say, piece of tree here, it would just get really distracting and it would take away the point. So just for the future, keep an eye. But I would more likely look on the light here. On this one, composition wise, as I say, it's about the straightening. So let's jump into the post-processing, where first of all, the crop. So you see what I mean. This part, in order to work, the composition has to be in the center of the photo. So that's first come first. So let's do that. Let's make sure that it's in the center. And it can be just done like this. And then we obviously want to make sure that these poles are straight, which can be done usually in a geometry. So let's have a look if it will do it for us. Or maybe we have to do it manually. So something like this and something like this maybe. Yep. And then let's just make sure that we are balanced. We are not balanced there. Okay, let's have a look. If we could usually horizontally just shift it a little bit like this and then crop it again to something like this, suddenly we talking. Now we have something. So we have really strong composition, well balanced, going straight into it. We can add a little bit of vignetting here. Where I'm here. And the glow at the end really works and it's really nice. So something like this is what I would do, Alan, just to make it work a little bit further. The white balance is more kind of on a beige side, so I'm not sure what it's about. Let's see if we would go for auto. It goes more for blue, but you know what? As a theme, I think it works quite well, and I think it's quite cool like this. I really like it, so well done on that one. On this one, again, I would try to see if we could make it straight. So let's jump into geometry. It doesn't fix it that much. I wonder if we would just tilt it like this. Yeah, something like this. Again, I would make sure that the temple is in the center, which I think it is. So just something like this. There is a lot of blue happening there, but I know these kind of night photography, especially the combination of the warm colors of the lamp and the blue of the sky, is a bit tricky. Let's see what the auto does. And it doesn't do much more than you've done already. I would maybe add a little bit of vignette to see if you can close it. And if you want to really go further, I would maybe in a color mixer remove a little bit of the blue in a saturation. Not crazily, but just to not have it as harsh, you know, something maybe like this, maybe not that much, maybe something like this, just so the blue is not so dominant on the photo. Overall, Alan, thank you so much for sending us your photo. I love your travel photography, or I don't know how you call your photography style, but I really like it. And make sure if you have a time, join us in our Clever Photographer Academy. It's a free photography group on a Facebook. We are open right now for new members. We do photography reviews throughout the week, answer photography questions. We do photography competitions, and it's a lot of fun, Alan. So thank you so much. Most importantly, send us more pictures in the future. Moving on the next travel photographer, and we have a Nilom. Nilom, so 3 black and white photos. Let's go for it. Let's see the first impression here. Love this one. Love the black and white across, to be honest, except this one is a little bit too contrasty for me. So let me tell you first what I think is a shame. I think it's a shame that you send the pictures in such a low quality, because let me show you. If I zoom on the person, I can't even recognize the face. I think that's a huge shame, and it will take away the points because I can't judge it completely for you. And it would help us to be able to judge it. So in future, send them in a better quality. This one, love. I'm a huge fan of simple black and white composition. Together with the plane here, I think Nilom, it works really well. This one, again, similarly, I'm assuming it's the same thing. With the building, it could work, but way too dark in this area. This one needs a little bit of straightening. I think the lady works there. However, the quality, and again, this maybe way too dark here. It's dark to the point when you're starting to get the white glow around. Similarly here, when you darken it so much, you're starting to get the white from the kind of leak around. So this one is my favorite, but we still go through the whole thing. So from technical part, from what I can see, obviously it's all sharp. So no problem there. Shame we also don't have details about the camera you're using. We could give you a little bit more suggestion, but it's very nice. I think this one, when it comes to the transformation to black and white, is the best one, where those two just having a little bit too darker areas. Composition wise, this one is the strongest. This one works quite well as well. This one, the leaning works for the tower. I'm not sure about this part. Little bit. Moving on to post-processing. So what I would do differently with this one is definitely make sure that the pole is in my center. So let's say something like this to make sure that it's leaning the same direction, and definitely make sure that my main subject, which is the pole, so it needs a little bit of tweaking, but is in a center. Something like this. So maybe even closer, to be honest. Let's see. Yep, something like this. Much better. The plane, so you have the main subject coming up, starting from the bottom up with a lovely light hitting it from a side, works really well, and then the plane, perfect. Nothing much to add here. This one, I'm not gonna say much, it's way too black here, post-processing wise, not much we can add. This one I think would really be helpful if we would do some geometry and try to see if the auto helps, and it does perfectly what we need, just straight lines. You always wonder with the cropping if we, for example, need the kind of foreground element. I think you could go much tighter, and then obviously maybe add a vignette and really bring the focus on the lady and everything, which you already done. But it's again a little bit tricky to be able to see with the level of the details we get from the low resolution. Overall, Nilom, thank you so much for sending your photos. Make sure you send us more in the future, but please do send us in the pictures in a better quality. Moving on, the last three photographers, we're moving to the wildlife. And when we're talking about wildlife, let's talk about training. I would suggest, again, I will repeat myself, but I think it's really important. Don't get commission from any of the photographers, don't get commission from any of the sales. These trainings and suggestions are purely just things I know that they work, either me or some of my friends using them. And I think when it comes to wildlife photography, again, Scott Kelby and his Kelby One has one of the best selection of wildlife photography trainings. You just go to kelby1.com and you can either buy the courses individually, which are usually between $9 to $30, depending which one, and or you can actually sign up as a member, pay for 1 month membership, check it out, try it. I think it's super worth it. And when you look at the amount of wildlife photography courses, 20, there are some super cool ones by photographers like Moose Peterson and Rick Salmon, which is brilliant as well. Just definitely worth to try and see, and really it can push your wildlife photography forward and take it somewhere where you didn't even know it can go. So my suggestion as a wildlife photographer, if you feel like there is space to move forward, and you should always feel like there's space to move forward, check out these courses on Kelby One. When it comes to wildlife photography, they are super worth it. And I have to say that their subscription is really worth it there. Moving back to your pictures, we have 3 photographers to go through. First, Jack Moscovita. Jack, first I want to say, this is not the picture we want to review this week, but I want to say that I got your email. I really appreciate the whole story. It helped me to understand. I love it. I completely understand why you're telling it to people. Also understand the branches. And I think it's like I say in my last review, it's a stunning picture and stunning capture. I am half of the time terrible at wildlife photography, and this, as you say, you know, so many times I captured some of my best landscape photos just jumping out of the car at the right time, at the right moment. Again, beating professionals who had a tripod set up so sturdy that by the time the sun appeared, I was not able to. They were not able to move around, where I was much more faster. It really is half-half. You know, it's a half of planning and preparing and training, and then there is a half where you just need to be lucky. But as my friend say, George, he says, you can only be lucky if you're out there. If you're sitting home, no luck will make you capture nice photos. So make sure you keep going out. But anyway, thank you very much for the story. I just wanted to mention that. So we have 2 pictures from you. I would love to say that it's a deer. I hope I'm right. But either way, it's some kind of wild animals from forest animals. And let's jump straight to them. First impression. So there is a whole herd of them with the main guy being right here, and then this one. Jack, I think both of them strike me with really tight crop. That's first impression. Obviously, I'm amazed by the animals, but I think this one, it's a shame that there is partly missing of it. I think if you capturing the whole herd, I think it would be good if you would keep it at least all the animals in frame. That would be just one thing I would kind of comment on this one. And this one, I think it's a shame that he's missing actual legs. You know, I think that's a one thing. And when you come look at his front, and that could be just the JPEG conversion, I think it's a little bit blurry on this place. I think more details looks like it's at the back. Let's have a look at the camera. 6.3, it shouldn't be like that. So it must be the conversion. But this part looks a little bit less sharp than the rest of the actual animal. But I think overall, in 2 of them, I think the crop is something what lets you down. Listening to Scott Kelby, Moose Peterson on their last wildlife podcast, I think they were mentioning how often wildlife photographers are keen to cut the legs off. I think it's a huge shame, and I totally agree, especially when capturing wildlife animals, unless it's a part of series, which for you I'm sure it is, unless it's a part of a series, you would want to show the wild animal in their all beauty with plenty space around them, just to kind of respect the wildness of the animal. So technically, it's all sharp on this one, or I mean, at least the main subject is sharp. There is a nice depth of the field at the back, nice depth of the field in the front. So well done on that one. On this one, I already comment on the sharpness. I think this part just looking a little bit more kind of blurry, but that's fine. Talking about the light, it's nice and diffuse. It's all nicely natural, so I really like that. I like the depth of the field at the back there. Composition wise, they work as a series. The only thing is I'm missing here, Jack, is the 3rd image of this animal in a full size. I think that would then go. So it would go full size, the herd, and him, and suddenly you have like a book storytelling images. Editing wise, it's really natural. I really like it. I know that's your style, Jack, and I really appreciate that. There is nothing wrong with the editing. The white balance is right. All your highlights, shadows, contrast is very well done here, and I really like it. So keep an eye on your crops would be my one thing. And I think one thing, just always make sure that you send us the best quality of the photos so we can rate them based on that. But beautiful, beautiful captures. Thank you for sending them over, Jack. And once again, thank you for your story. Moving on to the next wildlife photographer, Marie. Marie sent us 2 pictures. And I feel like I've seen this one in a Clever Photographer Academy. So, Marie, thank you very much for sending it again. You already heard my feedback on this. Love the depth of the field. I think the only comment really I was mentioning is that the front of the beak is getting to the point when it's a little bit blurry. I'm assuming it's because it was closer to the camera. And it's a shame that you kind of clip the top of the animal. I think, again, coming back to Jack, I was just talking about, the clipping is a big thing when it comes to wildlife photography, because you're capturing wild animals and you really want to give them the space around them because it just looks so much natural. So I talked about this one. So let's talk about this one then. Lovely bird. Well, I enjoy the fact that it's all there, which is really nice. It has a nice natural editing, and there is also movement happening, which I really enjoy. So, Marie, let's talk about this one. Technically, all is sharp. Lovely, all the way through. There is a little bit of noise happening. And again, I think quite often we have a problem with the actual conversion to JPEG. But let's have a look. 3200 ISO. That's the reason why it's so noisy around. So I wonder, why did you have to use such a high ISO? Because 1060th of a second is very, very fast. Shutter speed, you could be much slower, I'm sure, in order to capture the scene. So that way you wouldn't have to use such a fast ISO. That would be just one thing I would adjust. So I think it's just a shame that you're getting lots of noise. And in your case, it's not just noise created by, like a noise, it's also color noise. So it kind of damaged a little bit the background. But nice depth of field. I enjoy that. Lovely capture. Everything is sharp. The light is stunning coming from the side. I think it's very pretty. And I also really enjoy the fact that you were able to capture it with the water around. So well done on that one, Mari. Moving on the composition. And I have to say the fact that the bird is all there is already a win for me. If you would want to push yourself forward the next time and just kind of think about next time, what would really be helpful if the whole circle of the water would be in the frame as well. Doesn't have to be, I'm not saying that it's something that you have to do, but for next time, for future, I think when it comes to kind of shooting crop, again, it's always better to shoot them with a little bit more space around them and then crop it in a Lightroom or Photoshop or whatever editing software you're using, rather than shooting crop and then you don't have the data. So it's just a suggestion. But otherwise, composition-wise, it's lovely. The bird standing, things are happening, nothing to add. Post-processing, I would try to see if I could do something with the noise in post-processing, because that obviously cannot be done in a camera. Let's have a look if we could help it a little bit. Maybe something like this, and definitely the color noise. And it helped. Look how much it removed. So I'm really happy with that. And now obviously we have to bring some of the details by sharpening again. Maybe like this. And then we can use the masking to make sure we sharpen only the animal. So something like this. I think that's so much better if we zoom in again. Look at this. Before, after. I hope you can see it. I'm not sure if you can see it on the screen that well, but definitely big difference. Again, we can push this a little bit further. And as you have a blurry background, you can really work with this noise reduction a lot. And I think it's already so much better. Love the natural edit, always on all your photos. I think it really works very well for you. I think, again, like on, I think on the previous photographer, I think you more keen to go towards the green tint, which I think works very well on natural photography, but I think don't go overboard with it. You see, when I kind of bring it back, you see how even the brighter parts starting to turn really green. So when I go into Lightroom and try auto, the Lightroom really pushes the tint up to balance the natural color. So I think if you would stay somewhere around 12, it would be helpful. But that's it. Mari, beautiful picture. Thank you. Thank you for joining the Facebook Academy again. It's a joy to have you, and we can't wait to see more pictures in the future. And final photographer for today, Paul and Bear and Fox. Paul is one of those photographers which send us raw file and then after edits, which I really enjoy. Thank you very much, Paul, for sending them over. And let's jump straight into them. So, Paul, Bear, this is the original picture, I assume. Let's see if it's a raw file. And it is a raw file. Well done. Lovely, lovely photo. Let's have a look what so you were using Nikon D5600, Tamron 18-400, and okay, so you had ISO 3200. I used to have Nikon 5600. In fact, I still have it somewhere. I didn't have this lens, but it gave you a little bit of a noise, as I can see, which is always a shame. But anyway, you were really kind of zoomed in all the way 400, getting the bear. Lovely. On this one, it's like a wolf, I assume, or fox or something. And actually, I have to say, I love what you've done with the editing. Well done, because this one is really your raw file, really, nicely underexposed. So you keep the details in. What was the ISO 1400, 185 millimeters, 1/800 of a second. Well done. Okay, so let's talk about technical point of view. Technically, well captured, everything in the details. Obviously, the ISO is high, but I don't know nothing about the light setup there and what you're trying to do. So 3200 is generally on a higher note when it comes to a daylight situation, but still everything is sharp. Most importantly, the animal is. You get a little bit of noise. We know that. The light is very pretty, kind of coming from this side, which is really, really pretty. I like that. And that's it for the, I think for the capture there, very good. This one, we need to look at this one too. Again, a little bit of noise, 1400 with this camera. I think you try to do some noise reduction, which creates these kind of artifacts at the background. You can see how it kind of becomes blurry like, but it's not blurry. It's blurry in a kind of chunks, but the animal is sharp. There is a light, lovely light on it again, and well done. So technically, nothing I can add, Paul. So technically, so looking at this one, it's all sharp. There is again a little bit of noise, but the animal is sharp. There's a lovely light, and technically nothing I can add. Composition, I guess I will be judging the edited bits, the edited pictures, and you going more for almost like a square crop or really kind of tight crop. What is it, like a 4:3 or maybe, what is it, 3:2? No, 5:4 maybe. 5:4, am I right? 5:4. Okay, so 5:4, which is quite kind of tight crop. And again, kind of repeating Scott Kelby and Moose Peterson talking about wild animals, how much space you need around them to kind of respect the wilderness of the animal. But still, very nice. It's a lovely story. It's a shame you don't have more space here, because it's always nice when the animal looks somewhere and there is kind of space to show where he was looking. Where, you know, when we look at the raw file, obviously he was on this side. So if you have this much space here, it would be helpful, Paul, but that's it. Otherwise, really like it. And, you know, it's he's kind of in his own environment with a nice depth of the field with enough details at the back. It's lovely. This one out of the two is my favorite. I think it's great. I think the animal looking forward with, you know, yes, there is a foreground, but it's not really distracting. It just adds to the entire screen and it creates like a leading line around it. So well done on that. Really, really enjoy. Post-processing, I'm not sure about the white balance here. I think it's more on the yellow side. Let's have a look. So I think I would add the yellow, but much less, I think, to something like this, I think, just to keep it more natural. I mean, looking at this one, it has kind of warm colors. And I think on yours, reset it. It's like a really yellow. It's yellow a lot. So I will always try to go and auto, see what it does. So obviously it's going more towards the blue side. But if we bring back the yellow and just maybe leave it like this, I think it's a little bit more natural. Otherwise, natural edit, nothing to add. It's lovely, contrasty. I would maybe look at the noise reduction, but you already tried to do that. No problem there. On this one, I have nothing to add, Paul. I think it's a lovely edit. It's very natural, very nice, lovely light and everything. So thank you so much. Paul, if you could come and join us at Clever Photographer Academy. It's a Facebook group where we're doing more reviews, answering questions, helping people, and just post pictures and talk lots of photography. So it's lots of fun. Make sure you check us out and come and join us. And that same goes to all of you guys. Thank you very much for joining us this week. If you enjoy our episodes, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to us. And also make sure that you comment under the videos so we can keep doing what we're doing. If you want to join us, make sure you head to our website, cleverphotographer.com/review. That's where you can find all the dates and links to where you can upload your photos for the next episodes of our photography review shows. For those who don't know me again, my name was Jakub Bors. It was a pleasure, and I can't wait to see you again next week. Until then, keep shooting.